Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic episode of Keeping It Geekly. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're hanging out with our new guest, Jonathan Hedrick. We're here to break down Brackish Issue 1, a couple Kickstarters, and everything in between. Jonathan, I remember back in the day when I first started this, seeing the recount. You're also noted for having worked on Quickstand, Dream Master, and several other titles as well. But before we dive into who you are as a, with your creative history, let's start with the basics and start with where it all began. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show. How'd you get into comics, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cody. I would say my comic book career started as a reader first. I would hope many creators started off as readers first. I remember picking up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books off the spinner rack at the grocery store. I was a child of the 80s and grew up in the 90s. We had great cartoons back then: Batman, the animated series, Spider-Man, X-Men, and all those were great segues to the comics, and the comics were great ways to the cartoons and vice versa. Um, I was full throttle into the Image Revolution when all that came out, as a reader and collector. So I came up at such a great time as just a fan. And when it comes to the writing aspect of it, I was always just a casual writer, per se, just writing for fun, never planning to really show it to anybody. But one day I just decided to take an old script that wasn't written for a comic book, but adapt it to the comic book script format. And once I learned how to do that, I was like, what's next? What do I do with this? How do I get from script to an actual comic book in hand? And I learned that process about hiring out the artist, the colorist, the letterer, finding a printer. And then just one day I had several boxes of a comic book I wrote and produced by myself, sitting at my front door. uh, and then once I figured out the streamline process of it, how to get it from A to Z, that I was, unstoppable after that. I just uh, all these ideas that had been floating around in my head, I finally was able to bring them to life, and I started self-publishing, and a few things got picked up by a publisher pretty quick, like the Recount, and yeah, I haven't stopped since that. That's been about 7 years from now ago.
Man, it was probably such an indescribable feeling holding up your first book, right? Like the first thing you publish
Yeah,
and realizing like, hey, this is real.
yeah. I mean, I imagine it's something similar to having a child. This
Yeah.
proud thing that you're so proud of this thing that you made, and you want to show it off. And yeah, it's a great feeling, and it's an addictive feeling too.
hmm
Like I said, once I figured out I could actually do it, that it was possible, I just always thinking about the next one, and it's just a constant, wheel of productivity.
So, what were there any big challenges for you first starting out? Like, what was it like for you, starting out as a creator, with your first couple of series?
Well, yes, no. I guess the biggest challenge was just not having an audience yet. I just was a new guy on the scene amongst a lot of other indie comic book creators, and there was lot of advice being thrown out there. You know, uh, but I think what was the bittersweet moment that helped me out the most was COVID, actually. Um, when Diamond had to shut down back in 2020 for um, quarantine purposes and stuff like that, the comic book retailers were desperate for anything, any comic books. So they put a call out, and for all these indie comic book creators to submit or ship or sell their comic books to them, just so they had something that they could sell that was different. Because Marvel and DC and all the other mid-level publishers couldn't get books to them because they were so dependent on Diamond. So I saw a few of those calls from comic book shops around the country, and I said I had two comics at the time. I had my very first comic book, Freak Show Princess, which was a zombie one shot, and I had the first issue of Capable #1. That's all I had. I hadn't
Hmm.
even crowdfunded anything yet. So I reached out to those that were making requests, and a lot of them took me up on it. So I was printing my own comic book and shipping it out to them. And I had a few comic shops call me back and say, "Hey, we already sold out of those. Can you send some more?" Or people are already
That's
asking
so
about,
awesome.
yeah, people are already asking about issue 2 for Capable. When can you get that to us? And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So when things opened back up and the recount was announced, I had already built up a relationship with some comic book shops, with readers, with collectors. So that was really something that I wasn't expecting to happen. That was a blessing in disguise.
That is, and man, that has to be such an indescribable feeling as well, right? Your
Yeah,
book's selling out,
absolutely.
people like asking for issue 2, and you're probably like, man, like let's go. Like,
Yeah.
so how did those early days of collaboration look like for you? Has anything really changed since you first started to where you are as a creator now in terms of collaboration with the artists and such?
Well, yeah, I've learned a lot about what I'm looking for in a collaboration, what the red flags are for someone that might not be as professional as I want them to be. Um, I understand a lot more about just the industry in itself,
Hmm.
and what is acceptable and what isn't, what is considered professionalism and what isn't. So there's I'm a lot more strict and a lot less forgiving when it comes to things like missing deadlines and communication. That those things are really important, and that should you would think that would be something that would be so obvious, but it's shocking how bad some people are at communication and following a calendar and things like that. But it makes sense because this is a creative industry. This
Hmm.
isn't Walmart. This isn't Amazon. It's not running on corporate strict policies. This is a lot of people's second, third gig aside from their original paying job. So yeah, there's a lot of that's probably the biggest pain point is unprofessionalism that's out there. But there's also a lot of great professional people too. You just got to find them. Sometimes you have to stumble through the less professional people to find the more professional.
Yeah, of course, and all it takes is finding that right person that is going to push you and motivate you, right? Sometimes, the artist can really pull something out of a story that you really weren't even expecting. Um,
Right.
so, where did Brackish come from? I had the chance to read issue 1. You guys can read it on Global Comics. Check out the description. It's free to read. Awesome, fantastic book.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and man, we'll dive into it a little bit more. But where did the inspiration for this story come from?
Well, I like to compare it to on the surface level to Romeo and Juliet,
Mm,
but that's just a surface level comparison, elevator pitch to it. But I am a Florida native. I was born and raised in Florida, and I wanted to take a story to a side of Florida that a lot of people don't know of. People think of Florida, of course, Florida Man, the the theme parks, the beaches, the space center, and all that stuff. But I spent a lot of time in the swamp.
Mhm.
Even for a kid that grew up mostly in the suburbs, you're not too far away from the swamp in Florida, and I wanted to tell us that side of it and how much history is in that state. So I made up this fictional grudge between two families that have been living in Florida for a long time, and how things were quiet for about a century until the children met each other
Mm-hmm.
once again, and now there's no more truce, and we're gonna see the blood shed again in the swamp. So I wanted to tell something that was also grounded in reality. I had just got finished with Quicksand, which is this sci-fi eco horror book with monsters coming out of the ground. So I wanted to bring it back to something grounded like the recount, but more, instead of a political thriller, more of like a dark romantic tragedy set in the modern times.
And I think you really nailed it. Real quick,
Thank you.
how much of this story are we allowed to talk about? Like, what is, something that would be too spoilery to talk about, I guess?
As much as you want. I mean, it's free to read on Global Comics, so nothing's off limits.
Okay, we won't ruin too much. I want to
Sure,
make
sure.
sure any new readers out there still have a
Yeah.
chance to sink their teeth into this. And
Right.
speaking of that, with the introduction to this book, I still stand on it. That it was such a strong misdirection.
Yeah.
You have one of the protagonists face first to an alligator, getting ready to sink their teeth into him.
Right.
And it's like you have no idea what's going on. And I loved it. It's not often that a book hits you so strongly in the first like couple of panels. And I really think you and the creative team nailed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I take pride in that. And it's an issue one. Issue ones should hit you. They should go fast right out of the gate. They should hook you. I hate it when someone tells me, oh, when I tell them I didn't like a show or I didn't like a comic book series. Well, you only watched 3 episodes. You only read the first three. I'm like, no, they should have hooked me at the beginning.
Yeah.
You don't tell me I have to wait till issue 60 for it to really get good. I don't got that time to invest. Issue one, episode one, movie one, book one, all that should be just as good as you know the other installments that are going to follow. So yeah, it's important to me to hook readers right away, keep them on their toes. Page turns, I work really hard at page turns, changing the scene.
Hmm.
Pacing is really important to me. So hearing that, I really appreciate it, Cody. Thank you.
And I really felt that Remy and Jody were constructed really well. I mean, you get a good, strong sense of who they are, their, the type of people they are, and their
Right,
personalities without having to reveal too much of your hand. And I think that is
right.
challenging for writers to do. And I think you executed that like perfectly. I really also appreciated the introduction of these two to one another. How it's almost like a perfect Romeo and Juliet setup.
Right, right.
Can you give us a little bit about the two families, or why are they at war?
Yeah, so years ago, I'm talking, 1800s, there was the Tappers and the Saltzmans. They were these two families that were warring over the swamp of Florida, the central south, unused, paved area of the swamp before the state really had police force and national guard and things like that. um, and to a certain degree this type of stuff did happen, uh, where people would stake claim to land
Mm-hmm.
without any technical or official documents for that. So um, after generations of fighting, they call it a truce, but they say, the tappers agree to take the freshwater side of the swamp. The Saltzman family agree to take the saltwater side of the swamp. But there's the area that the swamps meet. That's brackish. And brackish is salt water and fresh water mixed together, and they agree that that's off limits. Neither side are going to cross that side,
Mm-hmm.
and just let the swamp be the swamp right there. Um, but kids are going to be kids, and
Yep.
21st century, they're out there partying, breaking rules, and Remy is the younger brother of a family. He's lack of better words, a beta male, bullied by his brother and his friends, and he's the extreme opposite of what Jody is, who is this rich kid, um, who but doesn't like living the rich kid. She's over it. She's been very fortunate, but doesn't want that anymore, and
Hook
their
me up,
worlds
right?
meet. Yeah, right, yeah. uh, I could use that money too.
Yeah, yeah. Fund a couple projects for me, please.
Right. But yeah, so they meet, and we see that at the end of the first issue, and it's gonna continue, right out the gate, fast pace with issue two, which I was excited to add a sneak peek of issue two in this free version. I call it a remastered deluxe edition of issue one, because we did crowdfund it a couple years ago, but I had the lettering redone by a different letterer, and I'm putting it underneath my own label and
Hmm.
getting it done right this time. And that's why I'm giving it out free to get readers on board before we launch for issue two.
And lettering is just as vital as everything else in the comic, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, because when you read a book, if you don't realize the lettering, that's how you know it's done right.
Yeah.
It's like a seamless experience for you.
Right.
And sometimes you got to go and you got to revise and make some revisions.
Yep.
And speaking of that, we're going to be dropping the link for the Kickstarter that's going to be launching soon. You guys can sign up for the pre-launch. It's 100% free to do that. Share this with your friends and family, and go sign up and follow Jonathan over on Global Comics and check out Brackish issue 1. I love the name. I think I am a sucker for names that tie in. Like, it's such a perfect beat, like where the saltwater and the freshwater meet. Like, awesome,
Right.
man. That is so awesome.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not a very common word either. It yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
The two worlds mixing together.
There's something about one word titles too that just,
Same. Yeah.
it's awesome.
Right.
So what can we expect with this series? How long is this going to be?
Well, at least 5 issues for the first volume. Could be more after that, but I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. The first volume probably isn't going to give us the whole story of these families either, but it'll be a satisfactory volume by itself. But at least 5 issues to get a first volume out there. Issue two is already complete. It's been penciled, colored, for a long time, and recently Leo McGovern, the new letterer, went ahead and lettered the full issue for issue two. So issue two is ready to go. Issue three is already penciled and inked. It's been penciled and inked for a long time. So we're hoping with issue two, we can raise the funds to get it issue three colored, and then we're just gonna keep putting money from one campaign to the next project like that, and keep getting them out on a regular basis, instead of the dragging our feet like the previous publisher did for this book.
Hey, and I think it's an important, one thing I really pride myself on with this show. I love promoting creators, their work, who they are. But it's also like a really good learning experience, I think, for other creators, for new creators.
Yeah.
To learn, like, hey, sometimes it's not always, roses out there. Sometimes you got to deal with some shit. You gotta work through it. You got to figure it out. And sometimes you got to take the wheel under your own hand.
There's a lot of pivoting in this industry on the creator side. Things don't always fall into place in the perfect way, and sometimes you have to start again. I didn't want to pay for lettering twice for one book. That's not ideal. I also didn't want to wait 2 years for issue two to get lettered. So
Mhm.
things happen. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you get into bed with the wrong people, for lack of better words. But sometimes great things happen too. Sometimes things just happen perfectly, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But you just don't call them losses, call them lessons.
Yeah,
That's what I always
absolutely.
say. They're just
Absolutely.
lessons.
So who is the creative team involved with Brackish? Let's give them a shout out real quick.
Yeah. So on uh, Pencils and Inks is Riccardo Ficini. He's an Italian artist. Then on Colors is Iksan Ansari. I've worked with him before on I have an all ages book called Atticus and the Magical Pillow Fort. That's also free to read on Global Comics. And then rounding it out is the new letter on the project is Leo McGovern, who's my guy. I've been hiring and including him a lot on my projects. He's lettered Can I Scream? Um, he's done Spill Blood, Atticus and the Magical Pillow Fort. And he's blowing up. He's getting a lot of other work out there now. I'm afraid he's going to get so busy I'm not going to be able to collaborate with him much more. So I'm getting as much Leo as I can. So it's a great team.
And I think it's funny you say that as well, because you're pretty prolific yourself. I mean, we just set up this interview, and since then I've seen you promote like 3-4 different projects. I've interviewed someone that you did work for hire for on that book. I think of Tough Stuff.
Oh yeah, yes, with Kevin Delgado. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
awesome book, man. And the
Thank you.
fact that you took someone else's world and made it your own, and it felt like pretty seamless. Like, dude, fantastic work. I mean, you just been pumping out stuff left and right, and that leads us to the next part. We're going to be pulling up some of those Kickstarters and going through them. And first one up is Hospice Tunnel of Love, a haunted horror comic. So let's go ahead. We're going to move to my campaign page. Just pull up the pre-launch, some of the art on it, and kind of let you take the wheel and talk about it for a little bit.
Absolutely. So Hospice is my very next campaign. This is what's launching next month, February 3rd. And I'll take a step back. Hospice is a crowd-funded universe, interconnected universe through different Kickstarter campaigns on Kickstarter. This is the second season of Hospice. There was one previously with about 6 other creators back in 2023 who were the founding members of this interconnected universe, which is they're all single shot stories, self-contained stories. You don't need to read all of them, but they do have this assisted living facility connected to all their stories called Rising Suns Hospice, which is like a evil end of life care type facility. And that connection, some books use that more or less than the others, but I saw a call for season 2, and I really liked the idea when I saw it for season 1. So I submitted to the team my story that I would add for season 2, which is Tunnel of Love. And this is essentially, I like to describe it as the subtitle says here, for fans of the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits, 24-page one shot, and it's about this guy who's on a date back in 1955. He's 15 years old, and so is she. And they go on the Tunnel of Love ride at the local fair, and something very horrible happens on that ride, and they black out. And when he wakes up, he's now an 80-year-old man in a assisted living facility with kids and grandkids sitting in front of him. He doesn't know how he got there from a couple of seconds ago, but they're telling him he has dementia. But he doesn't believe it. So it's this twisted mind. Is he right? Is he not? Did this actually happen? Type story that I think people are really going to enjoy. So please sign up. If you go to the pre-launch page, you can read a few preview pages of the book now, and it's partially black and white and partially in color. About 30% black and white, 70% color for the book. So it begins in black and white, but it kind of like Wizard of Oz begins in black and white, but then
Dude,
goes
that's
color.
awesome. That is
um,
awesome.
and we got a great creative team on here. The artist and colorist is Gabriel Ibera Nunez, who worked with me on the recount. And then again, letterer Leo McGovern is on lettering duties for this one. And we have a bunch of great covers for it. Um, it's going to be a lot of great rewards. And if you're into the $5 only digital reward, make sure you sign up because that's only going to be available for the first 24 hours of the campaign. So that's can't stress that enough.
That is awesome. And I think we had a creator that did the first Kickstarter for season 2 on not too long ago. 'Cause Hospice is a series we previously covered. So I love how small this world is too. It seems like once you get into like the thick of indie comics and you meet all the creators, like everyone's like working together and bouncing all these projects together. So for everyone that is watching, be sure to hit that link and sign up for that pre-launch as well. We also have another anthology that you're a part of, the Horror Not Hate anthology. Do you happen to have that ready to pull up?
Yeah, let me share my screen. Hopefully I do this right. Click through the notification. Are we seeing it on your end?
I am not.
Oh, I got one more thing to click. Sorry.
Damn you, StreamYard.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
All right,
and we're
gonna sharing it now.
And as you guys know, we just had JM Brandt on the stream just a few days ago. So we're going to kind of let Jonathan take the wheel, let him kind of talk about what he likes the most. And if you want to talk about what you contributed without spoiling, we definitely would love to hear that as well.
Well, I'm sure JM gave you a lot of specific details about it. One of the things that I like the most is that it's raising funding to help support the LGBTQ community and immigrant rights, which is really important to me. My wife is an immigrant to America. She's Italian, and I am an immigrant to Italy. I live here in Italy, so I know firsthand the trials and tribulations and the legal loopholes and obstacles you have to go through to be an immigrant and be a legal immigrant. So that when I saw a call for creators for this campaign, I jumped right on it. There's no preview of our story in the campaign page yet. I think JM might add some later or in updates, but our story is called Savage Spores. My wife Francesca Fantini is the artist on that book, and
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually our third time collaborating, but this is the first time for an anthology like this, and it's without giving too much because it's a 6-page story. It takes us back to colonial times, and I wanted to tell a story that turns the tables and makes people remember that we're all immigrants here. And so I tell a story of the colonial times and the settlers meeting the Powhatan tribe, and things don't go so well. I'll say that. I don't want to give away too much. I've shared on my socials some snippets from the story. Like I said, my wife drew it. It's gorgeous artwork, of course. Black and white with just splashes of color. Really intense storytelling, especially on her part. And speaking of her, my wife Francesca Fantini, she's the cover artist of this series, Rebel Girl. And if you want to commission her for original artwork, back any of the physical, I believe only the physical rewards, and you can add on a commission from her. So that's a great opportunity to get some original artwork. I scrolled through here and showed some of the covers that are available. I mean, these are just sick covers.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I kudos to JM for getting some of these artists like Chad Keith. I mean, this is amazing. Jonathan Lamatia. I mean, I need to get his Rolodex
Yeah.
because he's just he did a real good job assembling this. We're one third of the way funded. Our goal is 20,000, just over. I think we're at like 34, 35% funded right now with
Hmm.
23 days ago. It's not a really expensive campaign to back. I mean, the digital's 20, and this is going to be over 200 pages, people, and it goes to a good cause. And then the physicals start at 40. You're going to want a physical copy of this book for sure. I mean, choose one of the covers, choose the mystery cover that's going to be revealed later, or get some of the big wham jammy rewards that get you some of the extra goodies like t-shirts and original artwork. And yeah, that's it. I really hope that it gets funded soon, and I think this is going to be something that's going to really raise some eyebrows in a good way.
And if you guys have watched Keeping It Geekly, you guys are aware, right in that middle is that plateau era. The biggest thing you could do is back it, share it, support a great cause. Sometimes you got to put your money where your mouth is and help. And so
Right.
sometimes, word of mouth is free. Throw in a couple bucks. I think there's a tier on there just for $3 just to donate, so you don't have to even get a book. Help up the cause, share it. We'll have those links in the description. Jonathan, for anyone out there who might be on the fence about backing any of these awesome projects that we chatted about today, what would just be your, what would you say to them if you just had a chance to kind of address them and be like, hey, this is why you should check me out?
Well, a lot of people who read comics aren't still too keen on the crowdfunding platforms, and that they've they're used to that going to the comic book store, getting it, bringing it home. And I get it. It's hard to sell someone in the Amazon Prime world that we live in that hey, I need you to back this or pledge this, and then in 30 days we'll charge your card, and then so many months later you're going to get your what you pledged for. I get it. And we're so used to that instant gratification, but what you're getting out of this is you're supporting the actual creators, the people that are making this comic book. You're essentially a producer of this, just like a producer for a movie. You're helping to bring projects to life,
Mm-hmm.
and getting something else out of it. If that's you can pledge $20 without getting something if you want to, but even just $1. And I tell new creators this all the time, or people who creators that are going to start crowdfunding or thinking about crowdfunding, is back a bunch of campaigns and if you don't have a lot of money, just do it for $1. The $1 pledge, every campaign you can back for $1. And what that does is it gives you the updates that the creator is going to give out, and those updates help. Read those updates, because what you're going to learn from those is what you want to do and what you don't want to do as a creator. Some creators are really good at sending updates. Some really aren't good at it. Some will have a great mixture of graphics. Some will look like they typed up that update while sitting on the toilet.
Hey, sometimes that's the best thinking time. I don't
Sometimes
know.
that's all you can do. But it can be really educational from a creator standpoint. It can, you're doing a lot of good no matter who you are just by backing these campaigns. So I would generally appreciate it if anyone just even follow the campaigns. You're doing so much, and that's absolutely free. It's free to do
Yep.
that. It's just a couple of clicks. That's
And
it.
it boils down to being a number game. People
It
see
does.
people with larger numbers. They're like, hey, this guy's doing something right, give them that support. It's free. Share the campaign. That's free. Throw a dollar there and follow the updates and learn a little something. I love that as well. A lot of people don't realize this industry is trial and error, and some people learn a little faster than others by examining, what people are doing right and what they're doing wrong. Follow some successful people, see what they're putting out, and make it your own. Jonathan, I know this is your first time on the show, but I always love wrapping things up with, a little inspiration, a little advice from the creator, as well as what they're consuming outside of creating. So for the fledgling writer out there looking to get their feet, dug into the dirt and just get to writing, what would be your biggest piece of advice, to help them get that creative flow going?
My thing that I really get on a soapbox about is micro goals. Micro goals add up to macro goals. So it can look really overwhelming when you, let's say you have like 100-page graphic novel that you want to do, or let's say you're just the writer. You don't have to do the artwork either. That sounds like a lot, but if you break it down to 1 page a day,
Mm-hmm.
and one comic book page is not that difficult as far as time consuming. It can be, but if you tell yourself 1 page a day, that's it. You can have that done in less than 4 months, and with days in between where if you get lifed and you need to, I can't do my page today because life happened, you still can get that done within 4 months. And that means you can get 3 of those done in 1 year. So just set micro goals. Tell yourself, I'm just going to at least do 1 page a day. That could be, most likely, I would hope, less than 1 hour out of your day. So sacrifice that one extra episode of whatever you're binging. Um, you know, Sacrifice that 1 hour of going to bed an hour earlier, or sacrifice sleeping in 1 hour more, wherever you can find that 1 hour to write that 1 page a day. It'll pay off. It'll pay off soon.
Man, sacrificing those hours of sleep, I'm telling you, as a parent myself, that is the last thing that you do, Jonathan.
I get it, man.
I love the advice. The math is definitely mathing, and a big part of this is tricking your mind into being more hyper-focused, being more disciplined. I myself have a little journal that I write down goals every single day, even if it's just like trash, sweeping, dishes. That sense of gratification, marking off that page a day, will motivate you to be a writer. And I love that. The small steps lead to bigger ones. You don't chop a tree down in a day. You take 5 swings a day, and eventually it'll fall down.
Right. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. All those other, cliches. Just do it. Just one step at a time.
And life is going to life. I think it was backstage with JM, but we were talking about, like, I had to go on hiatus several times. It was like, sure. I came from a hiatus from a car accident and then found out my fiance was pregnant. It's like, okay, well, now I gotta make sure, that I am not sucking into keeping it geekly too much, so maybe I should break away for a little bit. And I come back, and it's like one thing, and eventually it's like, life is gonna life, and it's whether you are determined to push through it. Right. But giving yourself space to breathe too. I mean, awesome advice there.
Thank you.
And I think that's one that people can really add to their toolbox to really take their writing to the next level. So thank you for that. Now, Jonathan, last but not least, what are you up to outside of creating? What books are you reading? TV shows that you're watching? If you play games, what games are you gaming on?
Well, of course, just like everyone else on the planet, we just got done with the final season of Stranger Things, which was great in my eyes. After that, we took a pause from American Horror Story. We were going through all those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So now we just finished season 9, which was the 1984 season, and we're about to start the next one. As far as reading goes, trying to get more novels done. Last year, I was going through some of the classics. I just finished Bram Stoker's Dracula. Before that, I did Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Invisible Man. My next one on the list is going to be The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde,
Mm.
probably followed by Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame. I want to get some of those, like the Universal Monsters films. I want to make sure I've read all the books of those too.
Mm-hmm.
That I want to get the sources. And then for comic books, I'm really digging Exquisite Corpses from James Tynion and team. That's a lot of fun. Um, I want to read more Spawn books,
Yeah.
more modern Spawn. I just I read the Christmas special recently, and some of the more recent King Spawn issues. So I'm excited to get more back into that world because, I mentioned before, I was hit the ground running Image kid in the '90s. So I was reading Spawn, Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk, Young Blood. When all those came out, that was just awesome. Wildcats. And Spawn's still so strong to this day, and has inspired some of my work too. And then what else? Video games. I don't video game a lot anymore, but what I do game almost every single day, and people laugh at me about this, is Plants vs Zombies. Number one.
I love it.
On my iPad, it's my go-to task thing. Between tasks, I pull up the iPod, play it. I have the whole game beat. Every level, I have every trophy, everything. I just play the endless levels now that just don't stop. And I'm trying to get in the records on that. I'm like a top 4% player globally on Plants vs Zombies.
That's pretty that's up there, and I get it. I do the same thing myself, with like turn-based like RPGs, JRPGs, like Final Fantasy and such. Like it's like your little dopamine hit in between goals and writing. You're like, I'm gonna put some work. And shout out to Paul Tobin, I think the writer of he like 25 volumes of Plants vs Zombies so far. That is freaking insane, dude.
I can only wish I could get half of that amount of work for a license project. I mean, if someone, I'm just fighting tooth and nail to get just one. To have such a long running career, and he's done so much outside of the Plants vs Zombies series too. It's like that what so grateful. I mean, I'm sure he is. That's a cool thing to have. So yeah, good on him.
And is that like a hint towards maybe some future projects with the Universal Monsters?
No. I mean, that's me, putting it out into the ether and letting fate and destiny and all the other things in between maybe figure it out. But yeah, that'd be great, but I think Kirkman's monster universe that he's done is reserved for the elite comic book creators. There's no room for mid-tier indie self-publishers like myself, but that'd be great, and who's to stop me or anyone else from some of those the free domain type public stuff anyways, but yeah, that'd be great. No, but no hint.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming by and talking about so many awesome projects with us. Everyone that is watching, be sure to hit up the description in YouTube. I'll have it updated with the other two Kickstarters that we talked about today, so you can sign up for the pre-launch and back those when they go live. I hope you all had a fantastic Monday, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.